Hello everyone. This recording will focus on final assignment for PDE. You all have had, I believe, have seen these instructions and focus of the assignment, which was made available before the semester break. And now this assignment weight 45%. And pay attention to the submission date is 10 a.m. Monday 29th of October, and use the Turnitin link to submit that. And be aware of the format requirement, because there's marks attached to this session on this requirement. And this is the background of a project. Basically, there's issues identified in 10 residential facilities, and the organization decided to invest into certain processes and install some equipment to the residents, which you can read across the 10 residential facilities, in order to prevent the fall, and then we'll save the costs. And the program are in two different phases. One is a pilot for 12 months period. Then once the pilot proven successful and also have all learnings that are required in order to inform the design of a long-term program, and then it will be moved onto the ongoing program phase, the second phase. So this is what the organization have in mind. So the overall aim of the program is to reduce the morbidity, mortality, and the costs associated with falls in 10 residential facilities in addition aged care. So this is not the 12 months project, is for the overall ongoing program. That's the aim. So the program has two phases. One is the first preparation and implementation project phase, 12 months period, which can also call it pilot, and then ongoing phase from 13 months onward. What's listed here is the project objectives of the preparation and implementation project for the first 12 months. So this objective will eventually contribute to achieving the aims of the ongoing program, but within 12 months, this need to be achieved. And in order to achieve these objectives, the 12 months projects will have 6 key strategies that are listed here. And as you know, when you implement a project, a strategies includes lots of activities or tasks to complete. Some activities can be just tick boxes to track. Some activities are really important to be formally evaluated, to form part of process evaluation, because it's not only inform the project managers and designers whether the project is going well and progressing as planned, but also can identify problems early on, so that we can make adjustment and we can solve the problems immediately to prevent further delay or cost to the project. And also, really importantly, they need to be evaluated to ensure that we are confident that the objectives will be achieved, at least by the end of the project. So in addition to project activity strategies, you will see that there will be a lot of activities to be completed by the project. So normally they can be listed in a table, which I will show you later on. Then each strategy will link to a number of activities. But I've also summarized some of the key activities here, which belongs to this one or two or some of them, the strategies. But these activities are core to the project. And there's a budget allocation for the project, and it's all listed here, so please read carefully. That's including one of evaluation as well. So these figures will be important for us to consider the scale of the project and also whether the benefits will outweigh the costs. Then soon after the 12 months period, evaluation is completed, we are satisfied, we know what to modify, we know how we're going to implement it successfully, then we move on to the second phase, ongoing program phase. So this is the main activities after the 13 months onward. That will be the ongoing activities. And that's the annual budget for the program each year. So now, the assignment requirement. The assignments ask you to design an appropriate evaluation for the preparation and implementation project, and which is specified below here, and also develop a plan for ongoing monitoring for the program. And the 3,500 words is a guide only. So please don't limit what you need to develop just because you are over the word limit, because I cannot calculate the weight without providing a word limit. So it depending on how you write it and how much activities included into the evaluation, so the words will vary. But the guide will be, you include all key activities that need to be evaluated, and all objectives are evaluated, all benefits, immediate benefits are evaluated, and core activities and issues that need to be monitored after the 13 months. So that's the rule, or at least the guide. So this is the evaluation plan that you should include in the project. And please read really carefully. Now, when you present the process and impact evaluations, this is the table that provided for you, and please do not modify the table and fill in the table directly, because it will help you with developing good quality answers, and easier that for you to design your process evaluation and impact evaluation. I know that some of you may have other formats that you use at workplace, but please use the one that provided to you. And during the class, I did reinforce that during the process evaluations, we will identify key areas to evaluate. The first key areas will focus on the strategies, so that means really specific to what the project needs to be done. And the core actions that will generate benefits for the project. So each strategy, so there are 6 strategies here. So what you do is list the strategy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. Just copy them here. Then each strategy you will add roles when required. So for example, if strategy you looked at, in order to implement or complete this strategy, what are the key activities you think is really important to be included into process evaluation? Then you increase the number of roles. Then you have strategy and many roles. Each role will list one key activity to be evaluated, because the indicators need to be developed individually. So you have one key activity, and then design the indicators that you measure this activity to say that yes, we have successfully completed. So I did say that successful completion of activity or strategy, that include quantity and sometimes also quality as well. So this is something you need to consider. So that's where you include here. And then how you're going to collect those data. What's the methods? And here is when will the information be collected. So if those data only be collected one-off, then you put the exact time line here. So if collected immediately after one single training session, so you will just say that immediately after the first training, because we actually don't know when the first training will be. But the people pick up this evaluation design, they will know, because in the implementation plan of your project will indicate when the first training will be conducted. However, if you have a number of trainings happen within a period of time and you would like to collect data immediately after each of the training, then the writing would be different. And I will write something like, data will be collected. And you don't say the data, if it's conducting a survey or questionnaire, you will say questionnaire survey will be conducted immediately after each of the training session. And if the first you want to see how it goes with the first training session to see whether future training sessions need to be modified, then I will also add, and survey results will be analyzed immediately after the first training session. The purpose is, to inform future design. Then overall analysis of the survey will be conducted after all training has been completed. So if you cannot put the exact time there, then you just do it that way, because it's still clear when, as long as we know when the training will be conducted. So the message is, if it's a one-off, you need to clearly specify when. If it's more than one-off, and you need to carry that data collection through a period of time, so then you will need to mention the frequency of data collection, and also within what period. The bottom line is, you are the designer, you may not be the one to conduct the evaluation. So whoever pick up your plan will be able to do exactly what you designed for, so they without asking you to clarify. Okay. So this is the process evaluation table. And normally the second part of process evaluation we need to consider is any other really specific activities are not listed as part of the strategies. However, they are critical to the design, to the achievement of the objectives. Then you continue, list them here. You can just put that non-strategies related activities. Okay, so you can list them here. But my focus will be, you need to make sure all activities are important to those strategies are listed here. And it's not critical that you include activities that are non-strategy related or not. But in the proper process evaluation design for projects, always remember there's two types of activities that you need to consider. And for the purpose of assignment, your focus will be activities are core to the strategies. Impact evaluation, there's 4 objectives here, so you will leave 1, 2, 3, 4, copy the objectives here, and each objective may have more than one indicator to measure. Then you list the indicators here. If it is more, then you use different role, because be aware that each indicator may be using different indicator may be using different methods to collect it. So for this type of indicator, you put down the methods. How are you going to collect them? In what way? And when should the data collection and analysis to take place? So this is very similar to what I've said here. Okay, if it's a one-off, then you specify the time and when. If it happens multiple times within a period, then you need to specify the frequency, and also within the period in which the data are collected. So this is the impact evaluation table. Now this is a guide for you how to structure your assignment. So you will have a cover page. Please make sure you include all those details. Again, don't worry too much about word limit. What you really need to worry about is, have you developed a evaluation design that capture all the information to be collected and to be analyzed eventually to form part of the evaluation report later on, but not part of the assignment requirements now, the report. And you have a brief descriptions including what's the overall purpose of the evaluation for the preparation implementation project, and the specific focus of two types of evaluations that is being conducted. So when people read this brief description, we know what the evaluation is about. And do not repeat what textbooks tell you. Process evaluation is we don't need any definition. This is an actual design for actual project. So you just need to produce what needs to be evaluated for this project, and in the context of projects. And you learn the textbook, you learn the techniques, then you apply them to designing this project. So basically nearly no references required unless in this table you are using some specific methods or tools that has been developed by others. Then underneath you give the source of the tools. If you're going to develop a specific tools by the project team, then you also explain under the table. Then say, for example, if it's a questionnaire, and you will provide a little bit description of what the focus of questionnaires is, and are you using it from other sources, and what the source is. And if you're not using it, then you specify that will be developed by when. Okay. So unless there's special circumstances, basically not much references I can see that is required in developing your project evaluation design. So then you have a new page, process evaluation. So that could be many pages, and then new pages for impact evaluation. Then you have new page for control of validity, potential risks, and issues. So the strategy that will be employed to control for internal and external validity. Okay, so you need to clearly identify each factor may impact on internal validity and explain how you would control it. And then in a separate paragraph, and you can use dot point to identify the factors and then explain how you control it. So make sure you structure them clearly so we can read them, identify them really clearly, and don't mix up internal and external validity together. They should be separated because in project design, we consider internal validity first, then we consider external validity. Basically, if the project has no internal validity or internal validity is threatened, then the external validity will also be threatened as well. So they need to be listed and considered and listed separately. Then you have another section called potential risks and issues of evaluations. So any risk or issues that you may encounter in completing the process and impact evaluation, and any obstacles you may encounter that prevent you from successfully completing the evaluation, including data collection, and they should be listed here, and also discuss any strategies you can recommend to addressing them. Okay, then you have a new page. Now let's move on to for the 13 months onward program, ongoing monitoring, because the project's finished. Suppose everything goes well, suppose we have redesigned the program, then now the program ready to start. Then you explain in new pages, explain the focus of ongoing monitoring of the program annually, provide details of types indicators to be collected and frequency of collection. So you can use any format, you can just use this is what you need to monitor, that's the indicators, and that's when you collect it. Or you can create a similar table like the process evaluation and to do that as well. And so there's no fixed requirements for this as long as you can explain that clearly. What are you looking for? You look for the key activities here to decide what the ongoing monitoring should be. And pay particular attention to the marking table so you can see how marks are distributed, and so that to make sure, and also this could be a really good guide for you to check that you have indeed provided all required information to go into this evaluation design. So always tick boxes, have I done this, done this, done this, done this, done this, okay. So this is the requirement. So now spend some time to read them. If you have questions, firstly, for on-campus students, we will discuss this further during the class. And online student, if you have any issues, please request a Zoom meeting. We can meet online to discuss this face-to-face. And just send me the request through the question and answer link. And also, this is what you can see, the LMS site. I created a specific link for you to ask questions about the final assignment. So once students already actually ask a really detailed questions, and I think this is a really good way of asking questions. Sometimes students ask, just send me a sentence, ask how I think. Asking questions without adequate details that make it difficult for me to identify the issues that you encountered and how I can support you further. Now, I'm not saying that you have to provide such detail as Zoe provided, but at least it gives you some guidance of what you can get the best out of my comments and how. Now and she posted, this is what she posted. She provide example, those not in bold, and that's written by Zoe, and those in bold was my response and comments, and this is all written by me. So now if you haven't read it and read it carefully, because it can be served as example. Now I cannot give you a sample of the assignments because this is a project design, and the same project designs across all students. If I give you an example, that means I have done the assignment for you, and you just need to follow the template and the format that provided in the guide, and just develop session by sessions. So if there's any session not clear, you can ask question here. So you say, I have a question on process evaluation, or I have a question on risk. Now be aware of how much information you put in here, but because whatever you put in here will be seen by others. Okay, so I suggest that you can give one example like this is fine, and I think it's helpful, and I can respond. I would prefer that you do it that way rather than send me the questions and individually, and because then I might be answering the same question again and again, and we have about 100 students enrolled in the subject, and this is more effective and efficient in doing that. So this is to respond, and I also provide overall response as well. So please, good use of the question answer link. Okay, spend some time to read it. Now this is my guide for you to complete the final assignment, and feel free to ask questions, and feel free, online student, feel free to request and online space for us to discuss face-to-face. And for on-campus student, we will discuss this further at the next lecture. Please spend adequate time to think it through so that you can ask really specific and focused questions during the class. Thank you, guys.